Uh, Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Neha Hamilton, and we are covering a subject called Sports Marketing Management and Merchandising. In today's class, we are going to understand what are the different types of consumer behavior because in the previous class, we have covered the concept of consumer behavior. So, today's lecture objectives are different from the previous class. Today we are going to understand that what are the various mental aspects and physical aspects involved in consumer behavior. How can we positively influence the consumer behavior and what are the factors that can positively motivate the customers to take a particular product. So these three topics we are going to cover in today's class. Now before going any further, let us do a quick recap of what we have studied in the last class. See, consumer behavior. What is consumer behavior? Consumer behavior is the study of when, why, how, and where people do or do not buy a product. It basically depends on psychology of the customer and it attempts to understand the buyer decision making process both individually and in group. So, everything about a customer buying a product, when he is buying a product, why he is buying a product, how, by what method he is buying a product, right? So these all things are covered in this concept, which is called as consumer behavior. Now, these are the types of consumer that we have studied in the last class. We have consumer, customer, institutional buyer, and we have ultimate consumers. So consumers, according to International Dictionary of Management, is purchaser of goods and services for immediate use and consumption. Buyer, when I talk about buyer, buyer is a person who purchases the goods and services either for resale or for use in production or for the use of somebody else. Customer, he is the one who purchases the goods for his own use and for the use of others. So we have four concepts. Consumer, who is consumer? The person who is finally going to consume your product. That is going to be your consumer, right? Who is consumer? The person who is finally going to consume your product. Now, when I talk about buyer, buyer is a person who is acting a middleman between a customer and a marketer or a seller, right? He's a middleman. He's just supplying the product from one point to another. He is not somebody who is actually using the product. Okay. Then we have customer. Customer is the one who purchases goods for his own use or for the use of others. Else, he is a regular customer of a particular product and from a particular shop. So, who is the person who is customer who is actually taking the product, who is actually buying the product? Okay. Then we have institutional buyers. Institutional buyers are either government institutions or private organizations that do dealing in purchase of goods and services. Now, these are the characteristics of consumer behavior that we have discussed. So, I'm not touching this point right now. Types of consumer behavior also we have covered complex, dissonance reducing, and variety seeking. After that, we have understood what are buying motives. Buying motives are actually those influences or considerations which provide the impulse to buy, induce action, or determine the choice of the purchase of goods and services. So, what are the types of buying motives? See, there are categories in buying motives. I think we have covered all the categories. Product and patronage motive. The product motive can be primary or it can be secondary. When I talk about patronage motive, it can be, on what feature, on basically what particular feature of a product you are taking the product. Is it the price or the quality or the location of a vendor or the services provided by a product or the variety which are, offered by the shopper. So all these things come in product motive. Then we have emotional and rational motives. So emotional motives means you are not taking it logically. You are just using your emotions to use or consume any particular product for the love of others, for your family, for your loved ones. You are spending money. Inherent and learned motives, these are again two different kind of motives. Inherent motives are those which come from physiological and basic needs, such as hunger and sleep, etc. So, what are these physiological inherent motives? When I talk about inherent motives, they are like basic needs such as hunger, thirst, sleep, for example. If we are taking a pillow or a mattress or a blanket to fulfill our basic need, we just want to make our basic need sleep more comfortable, right? So these all things come in basic needs. Uh, when I talk about learned motives, so this is the learned motives example can be education sector or things like that. Then we have physiological and social motives. See, physiological motives are those which are driven by learning, perception, attitude, and social buying motives are those which are influenced by society in which consumers live, right? Then we have consumer decisions, theory and reality in consumer buying, right? So this is from where we have to start on. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about how do consumer actually make a purchase decision, right? What are the motives which are behind a customer in taking a particular purchase decision? What are the factors which are responsible for making the customers go for a purchase decision? So these are the things that we are going to understand. The first point is problem recognition, theory and reality in consumer buying. So we are comparing the theoretical part and with the reality part, right? So problem recognition or recognition of unsatisfied need is the first part. Evaluation of alternatives, post purchase evaluation behavior, right? So see, what happens in real life is different with the theory that we are studying. What are we studying in the theoretical part? That first there is a recognition of a need or problem recognition. For example, I don't have a conveyance, I want a four-wheeler car, right? So that is problem recognition. You are struggling every day using the public transport, taking help from your friends. Next is evaluation of alternatives. What are the alternatives in four-wheeler that you have? You can go for a lower end car that will cost you 3 lakh, 4 lakh rupees, or a higher end car which can cost you, a sedan or a hatchback can cost you 10 lakhs rupees or 15 lakh rupees. So you now evaluate the alternatives, you match up the products with the kind of budget you are having. If you have a good budget, you can afford a good car, a premium car. If you do not have a if you do not have that much of product, you can then also you can afford a convenient middle class luxurious cars. We have a lot of options available in the market today. So that is what is done in the theoretical part. So what I'm trying to say is that on the left part, you have the theoretical concept, and on the right part, you have the physical aspects that are actually happening physically in real life. Okay. Next is evaluation of alternatives. So what do? You evaluate the alternatives. One day you will go to a Honda showroom. Next day you will go to a Maruti showroom. Then you'll go to Hyundai. Then you could go to Ford, right? Then you go to MJ Hector. So we have a lot and lot of varieties, lot of cars available. Either you will look up for the brochures of this car, or maybe you will search for the car with the better features. These are the things that you are going to do when you are going for evaluation of alternatives. Finally, we have post purchase evaluation or behavior. Now, what is this post purchase evaluation or behavior? In this post purchase evaluation, after the purchase has been made, you evaluate the behavior of the individuals and you see that whether that person is happy with that car, right? So finally, after evaluating all the alternatives and matching it with my budget, for example, I've come to a decision that I will take a Honda City, right? Now, how I have taken that car, I have taken the purchase decision, I have actually purchased it. Now, how my experience is with that car? How is the after sales service? For example, I'm going for the service for the first time. How is the response of the people who are servicing my car? Are they handling my queries well? Is the car company giving me some benefits for the first 3 or 4 services that generally car companies gives? So this is post purchase evaluation of behavior, means how much you are happy with the product, right? And this actually relates to the physical aspect of buying, right? After purchase or after buying, you get to know that whether you like that product, whether you love that product, you are actually delighted with that product. When are you going to be delighted with that product? When your satisfaction, the expectation that you are having with that product is being exceeded. The product has exceeded from the expectation. So that is when you get actually delighted and very happy that, I'm very happy with this product. So this is how things goes in marketing. So we in on the left side, if you can see, on the left side we have the theoretical framework that we have made in the consumer behavior. And on the right side, if you will see, there are only two steps in a customer life. From the customer point of view, it is very important to understand that what are those things that a customer goes through. So a customer goes through two steps: identification of alternative and purchase of a particular alternative. These are the two steps that a customer goes through, right? So, and what are we studying in the theoretical class? The process of consumer decision making process. The first is problem recognition that happens in identification of alternatives. Then a customer evaluate the alternatives, which is best for him, which is the alternative that exactly matches with the uh, product. Then we have post purchase evaluation behavior. That means how do you behave or react after you have purchased that particular product. Now, the next point is factors influencing consumer behavior, right? So, what are the different factors that influence the consumer behavior or that influence the purchase decision of a particular customer? So the first thing that we are going to understand is psychological factors. When you talk about psychological factors, you are talking about consumer needs and motivations. And what is going on in consumer psychology? I mean, what is his perception? What is his learning from seeing the ads, talking to the people? What are his beliefs and attitudes? Right? For example, a customer has always learned from his parents that you do not have to spend much money on your comfort and luxury. So a customer is going to definitely take a low end car even if he has a good budget, but his beliefs and his attitudes are not allowing him to take that step. He can afford a car which can cost him 15 lakh rupees, but because of his beliefs and because of his attitudes, he's not able to take that car. The next point is cultural factors. Cultural factors means, the culture from which the customer is coming from, what kind of culture he belongs to. So, on the type of the culture that he belongs to, the purchase decision is also being influenced. How the purchase decision is being influenced? Because your culture gives you a lot of learnings. A culture has different norms. A culture has different kind of methodology, right? With the help of which you can uh, take a purchase decision, right? For example, when you talk about Western countries, European countries, they may not be having this kind of matrimonial websites. They do have dating websites, but they do not have matrimonial websites. In India, dating websites are not very famous. Why they are not famous? Because we do not have a culture like that, right? The cultural beliefs, the subculture, the social perception is that you have to get married at the first point of time. No point of dating, no point of anything else, right? So these are called as cultural factors. Next, we have social factors. Social factors means, see, we all are social beings, right? We are surrounded by friends and family. We are surrounded by, people whom we love, from whom we are inspired of. And, a very good example of reference group is like your best friend, or who is better than you, who you think is better than you, and the kind of products he is using, you generally get influenced to that friend and start using that product, right? Because he is your friend, and you are getting influenced from him. So these are called as reference groups. Now, reference groups can be your loved ones also, the people who are in your purview, your approach, or these can be the people who are in social media, who are beyond your approach, who are to whom you do not know, right? These are the people who are celebrities. These are the people to whom you love, for example, any sportsman, any cricket player, right? They will come in social factors. So when I talk about social factors, I will talk about the things which are involved in social, the people who are directly or indirectly associated with you, and with whom you are really attracted to, or you get inspired from those kind of people, right? So these kind of people are will come in social factors. Then we have personal factors. Now what are these personal factors we are talking about? See, personal factors are the factors which uh, are like age, stages in life cycle, occupation and economic status, lifestyle, and personality. Okay. When I talk about personal factors, I'm talking about your age. With your age, you try using different kind of products. For example, when you are in your older age, you will prefer the products that you mostly use are medicines, healthcare services, uh, maybe yoga clubs, or maybe things like that where you want to keep yourself busy. When you are a youngster, you are spending money on different kind of products, maybe in your grooming, in your personal and professional grooming. Maybe you are spending money on holidays and your education according to your age, right? And training programs and personality development programs. So things are different, right? Nobody in the old age is going to get his resume designed or will go to the personality development program. So according to age, also, the consumer behavior is getting influenced. Now, when I talk about stages in life cycle means when you are a kid, then you are a youngster, then you are, middle-aged person. Your choices in life differ. Earlier you were a bachelor, now you are a family man. You have a responsibility, you have kids, you have wife. So your choice of products will change. Maybe you were spending a lot of money on yourself earlier, and now after getting married 10 years after marriage, you are not spending that much on your personal grooming, but you are more focused on the education of your kids and also on the overall well-being of your family, right? So this is how stages in life cycle impacts the consumer behavior. The next point is occupation and economic status. So what kind of occupation are you in, right? If you are a fashion magazine editor, then you are going to spend a lot of money on your personal grooming, right? But uh, if you are an administrative person, you are a clerk in an office, then your choices will be different. You will be more concerned about uh, things in which you are actually interested in, right? Next is lifestyle. When I talk about lifestyle, lifestyle means the kind of life that you lead, right? The kind of things you use to live your life more comfortably, more luxuriously, and more lavishly. That will come in your lifestyle. Next is called as personality. See, personality also means that what kind of person you are actually, right? What kind of person you are means, do you like shopping? Do you do not like shopping? Are you an extrovert? You like going out? You like taking gifts for people? Are you an introvert who do not want to go out and enjoy at your home in your own convenience, right? So that is your personality. Factors, these are total the factors which influence the consumer behavior, right? So we have covered a lot of aspects today. We have covered psychological factors, we have covered social factors, we have covered cultural factors, personal factors, and a lot of factors in consumer behavior. Now, two more factors that we need to discuss is is the first one is called as economic factors and the second one is called as environmental factors. Now, when we are talking about economic factors, we are talking about personal income, family income, income expectations, savings, liquidity position, consumer credit. When we are talking about environmental factors, we are talking about political situation, legal forces, technological advancement, and ethical considerations. Right? So let us understand these factors one by one. When I talk about economic factors, that means what is your financial condition? Financial condition means how much disposable income do you have? That directly depends on your personal income. How much do you uh, um, how much do you make out of your living, right? Do you earn 10,000 rupees a month or do you earn 2 lakh rupees a month, right? So that is your personal income. If your personal income is high, then what is going to happen? You are going to spend a lot of money on your lifestyle, on your personal grooming, and all those things. You are going to use that kind of products, that category of premium products, right? If your family income is less, very less, then you will be more, concentrated on fulfilling the basic needs of the family, right? You want your kids to get educated, you want your family to live a comfortable life. So these all things, you will spend money on these all things, right? So that is called as family income. Now, what are income expectations and savings? Means whatever savings you have, if you have more savings, that gives you more confidence and give you more freedom in your purchase decision, right? You can take a little more risk when it comes to precious products. Then we have liquidity position and consumer credit. Credit means how much loan you have taken. If you have already taken loan for a home, already taken a loan for a car, then it becomes difficult for you to take one more kind of loan. It is going to increase the burden psychologically and financially on the customer. So this is something that we do not want to do. Next is environmental factors. Uh, when I talk about environmental factors, there are a lot of things in the environment. It is not just the weather. It is the political situation outside. It is the legal forces, technological advancement, ethical considerations, and all those things, right? Uh, the people who are living in different kind of economies with different kind of government have different philosophies towards products. For example, in India, liberalization started in 1991, and earlier we were not allowing any a foreign company to come in India and do a particular business. But the truth is that we actually start developing after the liberalization has been started. So these political decisions, these environmental factors impact the consumer mindset also, right? Because nowadays, if you have to take a small product, uh, like a watch or something, then you have number of brands. You have Indian brands, you have international brands, you have a lot of brands that are actually dealing in this watch business, right? So why the competition has increased? Because of the political situation, because of the political decisions that the government is taking. Then we have ethical considerations also. Ethical considerations means what according to you is good, what according to you is bad. If you are a person of ethics, you are not going to watch pirated movies, right? You are going to go to the cinema halls and you are going to watch those movies. So these are your ethics, right? You will not take you know the products from the second brand outlets, but you will go to a proper brand outlet and you will take that particular product, right? So what is your ethical standards? That also depends on the kind of consumption you are taking. Now the next concept that we have to understand is called as marketing segmentation. Segmentation is essentially identification of subsets of buyers within a market that shares similar needs and demonstrates similar buying behavior. The world is made up of billion buyers with their own set of needs and behavior. Segmentation made to match different buyers with different set of needs and buyer behavior. Such a group is called as segment. Okay, so what is segment? Segment is actually, market segmentation is when you are dividing the market on basis of what you are dividing the market on the basis of needs, on the basis of buyer behavior. You are dividing the market, and that whatever basis on which you are going to divide the market is called as segmentation, right? And if you take a simple group with a similar set of qualities, that is called as segment, right? So, in simple words, what is market segmentation, children? Market segmentation is dividing the heterogeneous population into homogeneous subparts. That is called as market segmentation. Homogeneous means a group having similar type of qualities, a group having similar kind of characteristics. For example, if I divide the market on the basis of gender, then how many groups in which I'll divide? I'll divide into two groups, male group and female group, right? Males have similar characteristics, female have similar characteristics. Females are going to spend their money on cosmetics, on clothing, on personal grooming more as compared to male, right? So they have similar qualities as compared to the other group, right? And one slice of that market, one group of that market having similar kind of characteristics is called as a segment. So these are the factors which are written in front of you in the slide, in which you can see that you can divide the market on the basis of various factors. It can be gender, it can be price, it can be interest, it can be location, it can be religion, it can be income, or it can be size of the household, right? I have given you the example of gender, male and female. Next is price. For example, you are producing a product in which you have to segment the market on the basis of price. So I can make three segments in the market: the people having high income group, the people having medium income group, and the people having low income group, right? So I'll make that kind of products for different kinds of segments that I have, right? For the people who are high income group, I will make premium products, high price, high quality products, right? For the people who are in middle class, like who have medium income, I will make that kind of products for those people, right? And similarly for lower income people, right? Then we have interests, location, religion also. For religion also we make certain products, right? For example, all the puja samagri is made for Hindus, right? All the Christmas gifts and Christmas decorations are the products which are targeted to Christians, right? Mithai at the time of various tyohars are specifically designed for whom? For Hindus. And cakes, cookies, donuts at the time of Christmas are targeted for Christians. So on the basis of religion, on the basis of income, on the basis of size of household. Size of household is also important because India is a country with a lot diversity. You will find joint families also, you will find nuclear families also, different kind of families you will find in India. So if you are segmenting the market on the basis of size of household, a joint family will have different requirements. They will buy grocery in big packages, minimum 12 kgs, 10 kgs, 15 kgs of products they'll take. When you talk about nuclear families, small families, husband, wife, and a kid, their consumption will be different. They'll take 1 kg, 2 kg of products. They will prefer that kind of packaging. Okay, right. So, what is this process of overall market segmentation? The first is you establish the overall strategy. The next is you decide the basis for segmentation, and you decide the segmentation variables, right? So, what do you do in market segmentation? You establish an overall strategy, which is the first step in market segmentation. You need to decide about your current situation, your strength, your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that you have in the market. Decide the basis of segmentation. We have seen a lot of segmentation. It can be on the basis of demographic factors, on the basis of psychographic factors, on the basis of income, age, gender, religion, location. It can be anything, right? And specifically, when we talk about India, India is a country of diversity. We have a lot of people with different kind of needs, likes, and tastes, right? So you can divide the market on the basis of n number of characteristics. Next is decide the basis for segmentation. So now you have decided the basis for segmentation, and now you have to select a segmentation variable. After selecting the basis of segmentation, segmentation variables like demographic, age, income, occupation, etc. should be taken into consideration. Profile the segments, evaluate the segment attractiveness, and select the segment. After segmenting the market, marketers have to analyze the customers in those segments, like what type of customers are there in the market. You have to evaluate the segment attractiveness, means evaluation is done on the basis of estimating the profit contribution by each sector. Most importantly, you will see the demand potential of the customers from each segment and the revenue earned out of each segment and expenditure incurred. Other criteria like measurability, accessibility, responsiveness, risk, etc. are also evaluated. So the first thing is you have to profile the segment, right? You have to do segmentation of the market. After you are done with the segmentation, you have decided the criteria on the basis of which you are doing segmentation. The next step that comes is you evaluate the segment attractiveness. Segment attractiveness means how attractive one segment is than other, right? How much profit that segment is going to give as compared to other segments. So you compare the segments on the basis of measurability, accessibility, responsiveness, risk, etc. These are the factors on the basis of which you segment the market and you assess the attractiveness of the customers. Finally, we have segment the market. Once you have assessed that this segment is giving me this return, this segment is giving me this return. For example, B segment is giving you 60% more returns as compared to B segment, A segment. Then you are clear in your mind that you want this B factor as a basis of segmentation, because that is going to giving you more profit. Next thing we are going to understand is product differentiation, right? What is product differentiation? It is this process of distinguishing a product or offering from others to make it more attractive to a particular target market. So, what is product differentiation? It is a process of differentiating a product from another product, because there is a lot of competition in market. If you look at the market scenario right now, a lot of companies are investing a lot of money in developing new kind of innovative products which are not existing in the market right now, right? So product differentiation is very important, because as we have studied that every product has a life cycle. There is an introduction phase, there is a growth phase, there is a maturity phase, and then we have a decline phase. We always want to stabilize the maturity phase. We do not want to go down to the decline phase. Okay, so in order to do that, you need to do differentiation in your product. You need to apply, different strategies to make your product different from your competitor. So, what is the difference between market segmentation and product differentiation? See, market segmentation and product differentiation are altogether very different from each other. Market segmentation you do at initially when you are launching the product or when you are researching for your product. Product differentiation you do when you are already at your maturity stage and you want to make your product different from others. So market segmentation is something which is consumer oriented, and product differentiation is something which is production oriented, right? In market segmentation, we are talking about the consumer part. In product differentiation, we are talking about the production aspects. It focuses on group of customers, market segmentation, and product differentiation focuses on product differences. It attempts to match the supply, and it attempts to match the demand with supply. Okay, so these are the things that have to be kept in mind when we are doing market segmentation and when we are doing product differentiation. Now, when we talk about segmentation, these are the parameters which are important. The first is called as substantiality. Segment must be large enough to warrant a special marketing name, right? So segment substantiality means it should be big enough. It should not be a very niche segment containing very few customers, on whom you are depending. It should be a large chunk of customers to whom you can target. Identifiability and measurability, segments must be identifiable and they should be measurable. Accessibility, members of targeted segments must be reachable with marketing mix. Responsiveness, unless segment responds to a marketing mix differently, no segment treatment is needed. Homogeneity means a segment is having some similar set of characteristics, that is called as homogeneity. And profitability means there should be some minimum profit that should come out of the segment that you should be able to forecast. That is called as profitability. So these are the elements which are very important in segmentation: substantiability, identifiability, accessibility, responsiveness, homogeneity, and profitability. You should test your segment on the basis of these all characteristics. If you find that all these characteristics are being matched, then only you should be able to use that segment or target that segment. Now, what are the advantages of market segmentation? I mean, why we are doing this exercise? What is the point of doing market segmentation? Right? This we are going to learn in this slide. The first thing is increase in sales volume. See, if you are not targeting the market, if you are just launching the product without any pre-preparation, if you are launching the product without any planning, right, then your segmentation efforts are not going to be successful. You need to segment your market on the basis of different characteristics and different features. Okay, it helps to prepare effective marketing plans. So, in your market segmentation, after doing market segmentation, you can make effective marketing plans. Because now you are clear that who your customer is, who your customers are. So, when you know your customers, you know everything about your customers. You know that what do they look like, what are their characteristics, what are their tastes, what are their preferences, who are your competitors in that particular area. So you are clear overall about the customer, right? So that is going to give you effective a scope to prepare effective marketing plans. Next is enables to take decisions. Definitely, if you know about the customers, you can make decisions about the product quality, about the product features. Next is it helps to understand the needs of the customer. It helps to win competition. It helps to make best use of resources, achieve the marketing goals, specialized marketing. It creates innovations and higher marketing share, right? So, when I talk about market segmentation, these are the benefits. You can innovate your product, you can increase your market share, you can do changes in the product in response to the market. It helps you to take easy decisions, market segmentation, right? So, these are the things that a firm provides you, these are the advantages that a firms provide you when you are looking for segmenting your market. Then, what are the advantages to the customers? It is customer oriented. quality products at reasonable price, other benefits, discount, buy one get one free offer. These are the advantages to customers. They get to see a lot of variety, they get a reasonable price, and they get a lot of benefits, because you are competing in the market. You are providing a lot of sales promotional strategies for a particular market. So these are the things that happens. So I think that's enough for today's class, right? We have discussed about consumer behavior. We have discussed about uh, what is the meaning of consumer behavior, what are the bases on which you are going to understand the consumer behavior, what are the factors which are responsible for to make consumers make a particular purchase decision. It can be an economic factor, it can be a you know factor which is related to social beliefs, reference groups. It can be a factor which is related to the political position of a particular product. So there are lots and lots of factors or features on the basis of which product differentiation depends on, right? So these are the factors which influence the consumer behavior. After that, we have seen the connection of market segmentation with consumer behavior. We have seen that how market segmentation impacts the consumer behavior. You have to choose the segment very carefully, and you have to measure the segment on the basis of these five criteria that we have discussed, right? So you have to match your product on the basis of these criteria, and then you have to segment the product. After that, we have seen a part of positioning also, that positioning is creating a psychological image of a particular brand or perception of a product in the mind of the customer, which is also very important. So consumer behavior alone cannot be successful. It has to be successful targeting, it has to be successful segmentation, it has to be successful positioning. That should go hand in hand with consumer behavior, right? So I am going to give you a small assignment. In this assignment, you are going to write down the segmentation strategy of uh, Honda company, right? What are the segmentation and positioning strategies they are using, because they are a successful brand nowadays. They have captured a lot of market, right? So it is important to understand that it is important to understand that what is important and what is not important in the market. Thank you so much for joining. I am ending the meeting now.